Hello there, my name's Brandon and I make pictures out of tiny squares. And for today's video, I thought I'd do some art using a Pixel Dailies prompt. And if you've never heard of it, Pixel Dailies is a Twitter account that issues community challenges every day, hence the name. And everyone posts their own pixel art based on that prompt, and then they retweet and share a lot of the designs. So it's just kind of fun to see everyone attempt the same thing, and just sort of the way that different artists interpret the prompt as well. So in addition to finishing the art in one day, the added challenge for me is that I'm also trying to cut a video within that day as well. So it might be a little rough around the edges on this one, but you know, it's all part of the fun in taking on a daily challenge like this. So I'm doing this work and recording the video and everything on Saturday, and I'll probably be posting it on Sunday. But I got the idea to do this a couple days ago, and so there's been a bit of anticipation, like what's the theme for Saturday going to be? Because for better or worse, this is the day that I have blocked off to work on stuff. And so as you can see, the theme for this particular day is souls, which honestly I wasn't really expecting something like that, only because it feels like a prompt that would have come up before Halloween. And I don't know, I feel like I've already done my fair share of Halloween themed art. But nevertheless, that's sort of the fun of a challenge, right? Because you can be open to interpreting the prompt in whatever way you see fit. So obviously the go-to here was just thinking about souls as in like ghosts and spooky stuff like that. So I thought that I could do something related to my character Grim Girl Hannah, since that's very much what her world is. But I also like looking for some other interpretation within a prompt. And I was thinking soul food is also a thing. So how about making a soul food diner and mix it up with Grim Girl Hannah and kind of see where that goes. The first thing I did was make a couple rough sketch thumbnail type of drawings just to get some composition ideas going. And I landed pretty quickly on this idea of it just being like a little micro scene that mainly had like a diner counter with Hannah and a server, and just a few objects here and there to frame everything. As for the pixel art, I'm creating this on a canvas of 120 by 120 pixels, which I really just chose arbitrarily. Actually, I guess I was going to do something that was just exactly 100 by 100 pixels, but I added in that extra 20 just to give it a bit of breathing room around the scene. Either way, really it's just that it's a small space to work with for a small scene like this. The color palette that I'm using is from Low Spec, and it's called Cast Pixel 16. Cast Pixel 16, did I say that right? That's almost easy to stumble on. But it's made by the user by the same name, Cast Pixel. And it's actually the default palette that's included with Pixel Vision 8, which, if you haven't heard of that, it's sort of this fantasy virtual console developed by Jesse Freeman. And basically you can set up hardware restrictions based on retro consoles, and then it's sort of easy to code games that follow those restrictions. The program actually just recently was made open source, so if that's something that sounds interesting to you, definitely go check it out. All of this is just sort of to say Jesse is the one who introduced me to the Cast Pixel 16 color palette, which I thought was great, and I've been meaning to try it out ever since I saw it. So for a lot of this, I'm using the black to create line work, which I then color in using different pairs of tones here. And that's nothing out of the ordinary for my style of art. But I find sometimes when I'm using a new palette, there can sometimes be an adjustment period in finding the color combos that I like the most, or just kind of landing on the right level of rendering for the art I'm trying to make. So there's a bit of trial and error as I go along with this palette, but the colors do go together really well, and the saturation here just helps give everything this fun and cheery vibe. In particular, I really love the bright green that's part of this palette. I find that all the other colors have a few tones that are fairly close to each other. You know, there's a couple blue, there's a couple orange or whatever, but the green is really the only distinct green in the palette. And so I think it bridges the gap nicely of the colors that are around it. And so I made the server in that color just so that it had a prominent use in the artwork. I also changed the black line work into just the saturated purple, and I think it gives a softer look overall that just helps all of the colors stand out a little bit more, since the line work isn't so heavy and bold. Actually, towards the end here, I did a lot of tidying up like this. I realized I didn't need to go so all out with the rendering or the details of the scene, and took kind of like a less is more approach just to keep the focus really simple. One of the final details in this scene was creating a bit of lettering to be like a neon sign showing that this place is called the Souls Diner, which I thought would be a nice way to bring the prompt word directly into the scene itself. There's obviously not a lot of room for a detailed sign here, so I just filled the letters in with solid white, and then I used the cyan tone along one edge just sort of as a glow effect, in addition to another layer of white around the letters to try to sell that effect a little bit more. The last thing I decided to do was just add a small touch of animation. It was too tempting just to have a few frames of Hannah chowing down on the pie there. So with this art, I've got the beige color as the background layer, and then everything else is in front of that. So I just cut and pasted the Hannah sprite as its own layer as well, and then sort of copied that layer and created a few different frames for biting and chewing animations that could run as a loop. This kind of thing requires a lot of trial and error as well, because it's mainly checking the animation to make sure it has the right kind of motion that you want, and sort of an appropriate number of frames to convey that. Really, I guess the trickiest thing with this one was just ensuring that the fork got enough of a swoop when it was brought up and down. But I think in the end it stays pretty clear within the context at least. So let's go ahead and take a look at the final artwork for our Pixel Dailies Souls challenge, the Souls Diner. Here we go. Alright, thanks for joining me, and once again be sure to check out Pixel Dailies if you ever need an art prompt. So let's close this out on some CRT time. So thank you for watching, and take care and keep it square.